All right. Let's see what we got going on in here. Oh, the Meridian. Yes. I have just enough now to do another tier. We can talk about that first while waiting for folks to come over, because I don't feel like there's anything game breaking necessarily here. The Meridian was added to the independent archives. That's our first update of the day. It is incredibly expensive compared to some of the other ships. Um, if you do the math and you add up all the milestones, it takes a total of 14,000 archive data shards here in order to complete the ship. Not to mention the fact you also have to be Ops 56 to get your building level this high. So this is not going to be something that a majority of the player base who are still in G3 and G4 are going to be able to max out. They're going to be, tier 6, tier 7. Does give you some good bonuses to in the lower levels to protected cargo and even protected cargo on FKR mining ships, which is certainly helpful for G3 and G4 on those specialty miners. Meridian getting small little boost here to Isogen and tiering upgrading the ship, which will also be helpful for those players because it tends to have a much higher warp range than some of the earlier mining ships. Between the Meridian and the Amalgam, and eventually the Fuchsia, players in the 30s can get to G4 nodes without territory or something like that. Now that Voyager space has been around for a while too, there's some additional nodes to be found there. And then of course you have the token systems in Dominion space too, which are lower warp, but those are all, not as many open access systems. So you can still get to G4 space with the Meridian, which is what a lot of players did back then. Of course, now it's not as relevant. But having 14,000 currency means essentially no one's is going to max this out day one unless you're buying a pack. And I really don't see anyone buying a pack for this. And if you look at what you get out of it, well, you get some 1, 2, and 3-star refined isogen. You get some iso emulsion, which is what you need not only for research, not only for upgrading the meridians, but also for like buying jellyfish blueprints and things like that. So you're getting a big chunk of that. You're also getting the alloy. This is what you convert for your territory materials. So you are still going to have to do that conversion. ISO resin is used for just a couple of specific researches, almost like mini primes, if you will. And then here's all the other particles and stuff that you need. And then there's also a chance for some very basic amounts of older resources as well that you'll get in very tiny quantities that honestly really aren't worth putting in here. Because by the time you get to Ops 56 and you can master this out, what does an Ops 56 player need with 100 million par steel or 15 million titanium? Like, they're not even talking about billions at that point. By the time you're Ops 56, you're in the trillions on resources. So I'm not 100% sure why this is even here, other than just to make it feel like, well, we're not taking anything away from anybody. We're giving you all the options. But in these quantities, it's kind of inconsequential, I think is the word I'm looking for. Now, I mentioned before, it is 14,000 currency, which means even if you had the max, which is 5,000 that you can hold, you'll still need another 9,000 currency. I get 375 per day. So you're legit talking about 25 plus days, because 375, that's 750, 7,500 over 20 days. So by the end of the arc, you'll still be 1,500 short, which will be about another 4 or 5 days. So basically, by the end of December, is the players who have completed the ship, is assuming you don't spend it on anything else and your building is high enough to get that level. This is when you're maxing this out. It'll be more like a Happy New Year kind of thing to you, you know, although it's the 8th. And so, yeah, it'll be just past like January 2nd, January 3rd is when people will be completing this mastery for the most part. Since I'm thinking about it, I should actually go look at the archive building. Which it's this one. Does it ever give you more than? I'm getting 400 now. Okay, so I'm up to 400 a day on this account. I thought it was 375, so that's a little better. So if I need 9,000, you get 8,000 over 20 days. So it's 23 days. Today's what? The 8th, ninth. Today's the 9th. 23 days is literally January 1st. So January 1st, Happy New Year. Yeah, will be when I can max this out. Now, I don't know if it doesn't. I guess the building stops at 70. I don't know if anybody above 70, if you get an additional thing, if it goes up even higher. But it seems like 400 is the max daily claim. So, yeah, there's no events. There was no event for this. They stopped running events for this, for adding new things to the archives a couple of rounds ago because they found that too many people were basically they'd log in, they'd see the opportunity, they'd start claiming it at 10 or 11 when the servers and stuff came back online. Then they'd launch an event at 12 or 1 o'clock. People would be like, I already did everything already. I can't do this. And they'd put in customer service tickets and whatnot. And then, you know, Scopely employees realized, hey, maybe we should just stop running these events. And we haven't had them for a little while as directly related to that feedback. So Carissa says that the mastery is 10 ops too high. It should be 46, not 56. I do think 56 is too high. And I'm trying to think about what could possibly be in here that they would want to push it all the way to 56. Because it certainly ain't the resources and it certainly ain't a lot of this stuff. So unless it's just related to territory research and no longer needing some of these particles and stuff. Yeah, 56 seems an awfully high place to draw that line for a ship that you get at 25. Because if you think about some of the other ships, like you get the Vidar at 25, well, this one's done by before you can actually even get the ship. Right? You get the Vidar at level 25. Your archive building has to be level 24. You get the amalgam at 31. You max the amalgam out at 35. Even the Franklin A, you get at 35. That maxes out at 50, which is when you're kind of done with that content because there are no swarms above level 50. So why, 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 why? Why is the Meridian 56? Your guess is as good as mine on that one. Maybe we'll get a Q&A with the Scopely dev team this month and we can ask them, why is it Archive 56? Which is probably one of the highest ships. Voyager requires level 35. The Talios only requires the building to be level 20. I mean, the Talios is tier locked, right? It requires you to be, I want to say Ops 58. And maybe some of the ships do have, because they have tier locks, that's why they didn't necessarily require the building to be that high. But the Meridian doesn't have any tier locks. Does the Meridian have any tier locks? I don't think it requires any specialty components, but we'll double check. Oh, there are interlocks. Okay. So it does have some type of ops locks on it. Going from 3 to 4 has this warp interlock, so that's going to be at least something there that's ops capped. And if you're going from 5 to 6, it also has a warp regulator lock as well. Ice Wolf, raiding on in. I don't know why my sound alert didn't go off, but thank you very much. Good to see you, everybody. And thank you very much for the raid. If you're not already, you should be following Ice Wolf. She was in the anniversary video. She got to say hi to the community. Thank you very much. Go enjoy some wonderful dinner with your husband, and hope you had a wonderful stream. And I don't know why Stream Elements doesn't seem to be working today. Passengers have been delivered. There you go. You get a steady supply for all particles. You do, and I guess if it's just a way to keep territory somewhat regulated, but it does seem like it's gated a little too high. Because even if we go into some of this research, like I haven't finished all my territory research because, well, I mean, a lot of these buffs and things that they added aren't all the most relevant. Like mining, I mean, this is base mining of anything. Maybe I should get these higher. Get an extra little bonus to my crystal mining rate. Probably going to circle back on some of this stuff. I've been doing the shielding and hull health and the warp speed and stuff lately. Well, an extra couple percentages of ISO defense, I guess, wouldn't hurt. So maybe, maybe that's why, because some of these higher, but you don't even get these particles there, do you? The chronometric particles, I don't think are in the archive. No, it's the Metreon. There are no chronometric particles. Do they not come from this refinery? Is that my... I don't know where half this stuff comes from anymore. Territory. No, it doesn't come from here. So they're just replacing the stuff that comes from here. And again, I don't know why they're giving you the basic resources. That doesn't seem right unless that was copied over from something else. Yeah, I mean, you do get all these particles, which makes sense as to why they're in there. But... It's in the Alliance tab. Oh, it's in this part. Or the territory part over here. Is your chronometric particles. Yeah, that's where the conversion on this one comes from. I always forget about that one. This is where you also buy your Jellyfish and Voyager and other specialty ship blueprints. And then there's your locks. I'm going to assume these have some type of ops lock restriction on them, but I don't remember what they are. So, some thinks the 56 requirement is ridiculous. That's kind of what we were talking about, that it does seem like it is quite a bit higher than it should be when you start comparing it to some of the other ships. But I guess if they really want to make people work to get that territory research finished, because they value it at a certain level, then that's where they put that point. But maybe that'll be a question for a dev Q&A if we get one of those, and we can all figure it out. But welcome on in, everybody. Hope you're having a good time. Sancho, thank you for the congrats on my free-to-play getting to 62. I have to stay at least somewhat competitive with CDB and Mini. Keep pushing each other a little bit, you know. Just a little friendly banter.